presidential election, and Donald Trump's campaign has hit a few bumps in the road to his White House hopes. High-profile Republicans have been withdrawing their support, and the UN's High Commissioner for Human Rights has described him as dangerous.
If Donald Trump is elected on the basis of what he has said already, and unless that changes, I think it's without any doubt that he would be dangerous from an international point of view.
So can he turn things around before November the 8th? Joining us live now from New York is Harlan, who is a millennial political strategist for Donald Trump and a former Democratic consultant. Let's start first with that date, November the 8th. You'd have thought Donald Trump's brain, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it was a gaffe. Like, he made a mistake, and we've seen this in plenty of different occasions across all of the candidates that had been in this race through the primaries and the general election now. So I'm not going to hold that against him. I will correct you on one point, though. I actually do not work for Trump. I'm purely independent.
Okay, and let's talk then again about that UN comment we've had, that he's a global threat, that he is dangerous. How damaging is that?
Well, you know, frankly, I think that just emboldens his supporters here in the United States. Like, I travel around and I speak to a lot of different Trump supporters, particularly in the Midwest. And to have some sort of international body suggesting that they shouldn't vote for their candidate only emboldens them to turn out on election day. It's that establishment that a lot of Americans are trying to revolt against at this point, and that spans international bodies like the UN, the media, the Democratic and Republican establishments.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Ryan has turned his back. Evangelical Christians now deserting Donald Trump as well. Normally a cornerstone of Republican presidential campaigns, aren't they? What impact is that going to have?
Well, look, this isn't good. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, as far as Trump is concerned, he needs to have his base coalesce around him. And right now it looks like his base is somewhat divided. Now, this is a double-edged sword, though, because Hillary supporters look at this just disarray that's happening on the right, and they're thinking more and more that Hillary Clinton's a shoo-in. And we saw this with the, the Leave campaign in the UK. I think that there was, with the polls starting to take off in the final days of the race, I think a lot of people thought that Remain was a shoo-in, and obviously that wasn't the case. I think that we could see some similar dynamics in this race where people think that Hillary Clinton is a shoo-in, they don't turn out to vote on Election Day, and that benefits Donald Trump.
Have we ever seen a presidential candidate with polling as low as Donald Trump's is right now pulling it back in 4 weeks?
No, I mean, this would be unprecedented. I will say this, though. I mean, everything about this race has been unprecedented to this point. I mean, the unfavorable ratings for both of these candidates are at all-time lows. And so I don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, when you look at Hillary Clinton's health, I mean, this was a central issue of the campaign 4 weeks ago. If we had another scare, that could change the race on a dime. So there's still, you know, a few weeks left here. I mean, we could see some sort of October surprise that benefits him. My biggest concern, though, is I think that there are more videos that could drop from his days as a reality TV show host, and maybe that would be the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and I wonder what you make of his strategy as a strategist yourself, Harlan. He's going on the attack. We saw that in the debate. We've seen it on Twitter with him attacking Paul Ryan and other Republicans who are deserting him. It's civil war within his own party that he seems to be creating. What is his strategy? Is he trying to almost excuse himself in case there is a fall on November the 8th, saying, well, it wasn't my fault, I didn't have the support of the Republicans anyway?
No, actually, I think that he was at his best this cycle when he was fighting the Republican establishment. That was a massive turnout tool that he was able to leverage to get his core base out to vote for him across the primary states. And I think that he's reverting to that. His back was against the wall going into the last debate. I think he emerged from it victorious, and it saved his campaign. But you know, this is just a tool that he's going to have to leverage because he doesn't really have a choice. A lot of the Republican establishment is abandoning him, and it's an effective wedge tool for him to use to get out his supporters. And I don't think that it's just Republicans that are fed up with the Republican establishment. I think that there are a lot of independents and moderates that speaks to as well. People that have said that, you know, these people in Washington have had decades to try to improve the situation, but they haven't done it. Give me a shot.
Yeah, as you say, his back against the wall, but there was a distinct lack of contrition from him, wasn't there? The tone of the debate, how is that going down? I mean, is it switching voters off? What is it going to have? What effect is it going to have on turnout?
Well, I mean, I've said for a while that I don't think that there are any new voters that are willing to switch to either of these candidates at this point. You know, they have record low favorable ratings. I think that a lot of people are going to stay home. This will be a record low turnout year. This is about suppressing the vote of the opposition. And so he was slinging mud, trying to expose Hillary Clinton for her long track record of her long ineffectual track record in Washington. And that's just purely a tool to suppress independents from supporting her. He knows that he can't probably win many of them, but if he can keep them from the polls, that's a net positive for him.
What about Hillary Clinton's approach, meanwhile, her strategy? She's taken the Michelle Obama approach to rise above it. Is that working, or is she looking weak in opposition?
Well, you know, one thing I will say, I heard that line in the debate. You know, it's not going low for accusers that are victims of sexual assault to stand up and say, we want to be heard. And so that kind of landed a little bit tone deaf, in my opinion. But look, she's handled that remarkably effectively because she's not really addressing the accusations head on. She's just saying, I'm going to stay above it, I'm not going to address it, and that's all that she can do. Because if we get into the process of relitigating these past victims, I think that that's a losing proposition for the Clintons. At the very least, if Bill Clinton has to stand up there and deny that he ever sexually assaulted these women, you know, he's got some serious problems.
And as you say, Harlan Hill, this has been far from conventional, very hard to make predictions, but I'm going to ask you to do just that. Where do you see the 9th?
If I had to put money on it, I would say that I'd say that she has a 70% chance of winning. But you know, I wouldn't write him off at this point. I mean, there's still a lot of time for there to be surprises. And frankly, he's surprised everybody and every pundit for the last 16 months. So I wouldn't write him off at this point. Yeah, he surprised me. Yeah, he did. He did.
Okay. Harlan Hill, thank you very much indeed for joining us live there from New York.
Thank you.
Well, this afternoon, MPs have been debating